Hey guys, thanks for clicking on this video. So glad you're here and welcome book-loving friends. We're going to do another book video. I'm hoping to do more of these this year because you guys, I am in a reading kick. And so I wanted to do a wrap up of what I've read in January and February. I usually don't do these, but because I read so many books, I read 14 books in the last 2 months. I just want to talk about them while they're fresh on my mind. Usually I do either a summer wrap up or a year-end wrap up, and if you didn't watch my last one, I'll leave that linked. But by the time I get around to the year-end one, these ones at the beginning of the year are like I hardly remember anything about them because it has been almost a year basically since I had read them. So we're gonna do a wrap up. I read some 5-star books, you guys, such good ones, and I'm really excited to talk about them today. If you like book content and book videos, please give this video a thumbs up to let me know, and let's start talking about the books. So the first book that I read, and I kind of started this at the end of last year and finished it in January, and that is Why Her by Nikki Koziar's 6 Truths We Need to Hear When Measuring Up Leaves Us Falling Behind. This was a easy 5-star book for me. It came at the perfect time. It was exactly what my heart and my soul needed, and I think especially in this digital age where women just struggle, men too, but women especially struggle with comparison or competing or looking at someone else thinking like, why do they get all this success and I don't? And just the things she said in here were just so encouraging to my soul and my spirit. I could not recommend this enough. It deals with comparison, but it also just deals with finding a different way of looking at other people's successes, that their successes do not mean your failures. For me specifically, I can have that mindset and it's really damaging. So there's enough success for everybody, and it's success in God's eyes, not the world's eyes. So anyways, loved this book. Highly recommend. Easy 5 stars. The next one I read on ebook was Living Lies by Natalie Walters. I think I was recommended this a few times because it's a Christian suspense. This book, I gave it a 3-star, but it kind of drove me up a wall. I went into this thinking that it was, Christian suspense, but I would say the main point of this book was the romance between the main characters, and their romance drove me nuts. I thought it was so cheesy. It was so, this is not realistic type of romances. Like they always bumped into each other. Like whenever they opened the door, the other was there. And you're just like, come on. I probably would have liked this better because I loved the mystery and the crime aspect of the book, but I hated the romance. And the romance was just so heavily focused on. It was a bummer. This was the first in a series, and I probably won't continue because if the rest is going to be this romance heavy, like it's one thing if it's labeled a romance, but as far as I know it wasn't, so that's not really what I was anticipating. So anyways, I gave it a 3-star because I really did like the mystery aspect, and I wish there was more focus on that. The next one I read, and this cover is driving me crazy because look how like it's jutting out. Do you have any tips to fix that? This is Gospel Powered Humility by William Farley. Phenomenal. I love books on humility. They cut so deep in such a good way. So convicting. So this was a 5-star read for me, and then it made me want to pick up one of my all-time favorites, which is Humility by Andrew Murray. I believe this was my 4th time reading this book. It's phenomenal. I like this book over the other one just because I feel like this, you can't get better than this. I feel like this is like the perfect book on humility, and it's just so good. It just, every single time I read it, I walk away so challenged. Obviously a 5-star. The other one was also a 5-star. Then the next one I read on ebook was The Mysterious Affair at Styles, and this was by Agatha Christie. This is her first Hercule Poirot mystery, and it didn't disappoint. This was so good. This was so entertaining, classic Christie. 4.5. And I just liked the characters. I like that cozy house mansion type of mystery. So that's what this one was. Lots of different characters, a central setting in a mansion, and I really liked it. The next one I read was C.S. Lewis's The Weight of Glory. This, it's hard for me. What did I rate this? I rated it a 3.5. I do really enjoy C.S. Lewis, and then there are certain parts of his writing that just go over my head. I can't fully grasp it, and I don't really know what I'm reading about. The beginning of the book, I thought there were some chapters that like really were profound, but there's something about his nonfiction writing. I have a hard time giving it a full 5 stars because I don't recall everything that's in the book, and I don't resonate with everything, and I don't understand everything. So I did write down a lot of really good quotes from this book, and I do recommend it. And maybe if you're able to understand his writing style a little bit better and like his train of theological thought, you might really enjoy this book. So I don't think it's a bad book. There's just a lot of it that I just, I'm not smart enough to understand it. The next one I read on audiobook was With Malice by Eileen Cook. I rated this a 3-star because it was entertaining. I think the main reason why I picked this book was because it had like an Italian setting, and part of the book is an Italian setting. It's like recalling an event that happened in Italy that is under investigation. It was entertaining to a point, and then I felt like I was really bored the rest of it. Like parts of it I was like, oh, this is entertaining and this is intriguing. And then other aspects I was like, I am so bored. I did like the aspects of it being in Italy. Not the best mystery thriller I've ever read. Then the next one I listened to on audio, and that was No Drama Discipline by Daniel Siegel and Tina Bryson. This was actually a really phenomenal parenting book. I have mentioned that it's hard for me to fully like give a really good rating to a parenting book because you're just not going to agree with everything that certain approaches take. But I found this book to be so encouraging, and they're not Christians, but I found like the way that they were handling some of the topics and the way that they structure their design of discipline is very biblical. Whether they know it or not, and they call it different things, which is annoying, they call it like primitive instincts instead of just our sin nature. But I like that their focus is on connecting with the child and their mind when they are disobeying, when they're having a tantrum, whatever it is. That the goal is to connect with them and try and understand what's going on in their brain. And so to not take an approach of like coming down on them, but to even just physically lower yourself to their level, look at them eye to eye, and try and diffuse a lot of the emotions with your own emotions, because when you raise your emotions, the next person's gonna raise theirs. And it's just, I see that in like Nick and I's relationship is like, if we're arguing over something and one person comes at it with this level of intensity, someone responds with a higher level, it's just, it keeps getting higher. So when someone comes and kind of diffuses the energy and the tension, then it puts the other at ease. It's just a natural way that our minds and our bodies work. And so kind of focusing on that with disciplining, and I really liked it. It's definitely more of a gentle parenting approach, which I don't know where I lean on all of that stuff, to be honest. I'm not like caging myself into anything. I'm just saying I really liked the principles talked about in this book and found it very encouraging. And I've started to use some of the stuff on Elliot, and I have noticed an actual pretty big difference right away. I highly recommend this one. I gave it a 4.5. Okay, the next one I read on ebook was Cards on the Table by Agatha Christie. This was phenomenal, Agatha Christie. 5 stars. I feel like it might be my favorite Agatha Christie. And if you know anything about the card game Bridge, you'll probably like it even more. I have no idea. I know nothing about the card game Bridge. And they talk a lot about that, but I didn't even feel like my lack of knowledge in that ruined the overall experience of reading the book, because it was so darn good. Oh, it was so good, and very different than anything else I have read from her. Just like the approach that she took, and she had a lot of just like intricate twists and turns in there. I have a hard time guessing Agatha Christie's like killer and motives and stuff like that, and that was definitely the case with this one. It was just so good. It was so good. I was so impressed. I was thoroughly entertained. It was just a classic cozy Agatha Christie mystery. Couldn't go wrong. I was very, very pleased with it. The next one I listened to on audio was 3 by Ted Dekker. This was recommended quite a few times over the years because people know how much I love like mystery and suspense, and this is supposed to be a Christian, I think he's a Christian author. I don't think it's a Christian, well, is it a Christian book? Christian suspense? Because it does have like, I found there to be a very strong Christian allegory to it. And I think that was his point. This was a very sinister, darker, but very intense mystery thriller. I was thoroughly entertained. I'm pretty sure I listened to this in 2 days, I think. I think it took me 2 days to get through this because I was really into it. It was intense in some of the parts, creepy in some of the parts, but I felt like I really, really enjoyed the way he took things, the way that if he intended it to be allegorical, I definitely saw it. I gave that one a 4.5 star. Then the next one I read on audio was You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron. Byron or Bayron, I'm not really sure. No, this was a 2 star. It could have been a 1 star. Like 1 stars are just, there was no redeeming quality, you know? 1 star is like, this is bottom of the barrel, nothing good about it. So I gave it a 2 star because I didn't feel like it was that bad, but it really wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. A lot of the content I didn't like. I didn't really love the way they took the mystery. Basically, it's supposed to be like this camp setting that is a simulation of like a horror film, but like people come to the camp and they're supposed to like try and make it out of this like horror film. So it's all like pretend and people are acting, and then people start like actually disappearing or dying, and it sounds kind of intriguing and it sounded interesting, but just the content in it was just not for me. Just wasn't for me. So yeah, can't really recommend that one. Then the next one I read physically was The Passion of Jesus Christ by John Piper. This is a phenomenal book about the gospel. Wow, you guys. Like, it's a tiny book, but it packs a punch. So he's got 50 reasons that Jesus came to die, all based on scripture. And then it's basically just 2 pages explaining the reasons. So I was able to read a couple of these every single day alongside my Bible reading. This is such a good resource, not only just to further your knowledge of the gospel, but to further your knowledge of scripture. Highly recommend. So good. It was an easy 5 star for me, just because of how phenomenal it was. I loved everything about it. The next one I listened to on audiobook was The Unwanted Guest by Sherry LaPena. This I gave a 3.5 star. I thought it was entertaining, but not as thrilling as I was expecting. And it did take me a while to kind of get into it. It's multiple POV of like all these people staying at an inn, and then they get stormed in. They're stuck there. A murder happens. They're all still stuck there and they're not able to get out. So I was enjoying a lot of the aspects. I wasn't thrilled with the way that it ended. I will say that. I was a bit disappointed in the ending. And usually with thrillers, an ending can seriously redeem a book. Like, I could be just like middle of the road the whole book, but if the last like couple chapters blow my mind, it might be a 5 star rating for me. And since that didn't happen with this book, it kind of stayed middle of the road. And that's just kind of how the book felt for me. Like, it was entertaining, but just middle of the road. Not bad, but not my favorite. Okay, then the one that I just finished on audio was The Breakdown by B.A. Paris. I gave this a 3 star because I actually was able to guess like a major part of the plot extremely early on. And I hate doing that. I hate that. Like, I want to be duped. I want to be blown away. I try not to even like guess too much because I don't want to ruin that like surprise moment for myself in a thriller. And so I felt like the entire book, because I like suspected this thing to be, you know, part of what was happening, and then it ended up being a big part of the reveal at the end. I'm like, well, dang, like I didn't get that like, oh, what, you know? So it kind of really went downhill, and I don't know if it was just me because I don't feel like I can guess mystery plots easily, so that's kind of surprising to me. Anyways, it was entertaining, and if you didn't guess what happened, I think it would be a lot more enjoyable. I feel like because I was able to guess it, a lot of people could guess it. So that's unfortunate. Anyways, so that's all of them. 14 books, you guys, in 2 months. That's kind of insane, especially because my goal for the entire year is to read 24 books. So I'm definitely on pace to hit that. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Let me know your favorites. Let me know maybe your favorite that you've read in the past 2 months, and then maybe I can pick it up the next month or the month after, because like I said, I am reading a ton this year, and I feel like I'll be able to get to a lot of your guys' favorites, as well as the things that are kind of on my TBR. Super excited to be able to do a wrap up. Maybe if I'm on the trajectory, let me know if you'd like more wrap ups throughout the year, so that, like I said, the books are fresh in my mind and I can kind of remember why I rated them the way that I rated them. Thank you again so much for watching. If you forgot to give a thumbs up at the beginning, leave a thumbs up before you go, and I will see you in my next video.